Hey there, this is Jodi Clock, and welcome to my podcast, I Woke Up Dead, Now What? In our conversations, we'll talk about real issues that everyday people face should they wake up dead without a life after death plan in place. Join me as we explore the how-tos on preparing for you or your loved one's passing without breaking the bank. And let's not forget about those pets too. Now, don't you fall asleep. Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Woke Up Dead, Now What? This is Jodi Clock, and we are here live talking about things that you need to know about, but some people don't like to discuss. I always start the show by saying we're having interesting stuff, but it's all interesting. You know, the other day I was just driving around and I thought, how do you beat the odds? I mean, really, how can we avoid the worst way to die? I mean, think about this. When you were a kid, did you ever think about how you were going to die? I mean, I can remember laying in bed one night and oh my gosh, I must have been, in grade school. And a family member had a heart attack and died. And so that led me going down the path, how do we die? Do we just wake up dead? Or do we end up in the hospital? Or is there a car accident? I can remember one of my sister's good girlfriends came home on a winter night after Christmas shopping, and she was involved in a terrible auto accident with a semi-truck. Well, we know who won. So, for many of us who may think about death but don't openly express it, I'd like to give you a reminder. Failing to plan for it is what creates the unnecessary stress for our loved ones in our lives. Yeah, I get that when you're a young kid and things happen, you can't plan for that. But, now we're adults and we've planned for all kinds of things in our lives, but most of us have not planned for that one-on-one chance of something happening, a little thing called our end of life. I don't know about you, but I listen to TED Talks all the time. I love them. So Dr. Peter Saul is an intensive special care doctor, and he shared a powerful TED Talk. And that highlights the importances of open communication, especially that revolve around end-of-life care. He's a doctor, and he's in Australia, and he said the interesting focus from a doctor's viewpoint is that they always were taught to save lives. No matter what, you got to save a life. So he has shifted his focus, and many of the doctors who work with him, their focus from life-saving to life extending. And once he did that, he observed a critical change in just the whole medical practice. In the past, doctors focused on these life-saving measures. But today, you can have life-saving measures, but that does not necessarily improve the quality of life. Let me say that again. We can focus on keeping people alive, but if you're not improving the quality, what's the point? This can lead to situations where people linger and linger, whether it's physically and they're ailing or they have absolutely no mental capacity. But here's the thing. A physician's hands are tied. When it comes to being a doctor, they took that Hippocratical oath. Unless they have explicit instructions from the individual who's in care, a doctor is obligated to prevent death at all costs. Doctors cannot deny emergency resuscitation. They can't just stand by and allow a patient to die, even if that's what they want. So, this is the pivotal moment where you, me, all of us can take control of our own life. There's that forgotten conversation. Dr. Saul found in all of his research, there was one consistent theme, and that was lack of communication with patient wishes. They might have had that talk, but they didn't document that talk. So, when families face critical illness and they haven't discussed that end-of-life preference, the patient's family experiences up to, get this, 7 times the emotional strain, not to mention the financial hardship due to the lengthy hospital stays, prolonged care, and anything that goes with it. So here's what it boils down to, friends. There are 4 ways to die. The first thing when I say that 4 ways to die, I think of, what is that, Paul Simon? 50 ways to leave your lover, hop on the bus, Gus. But then Train has this other song, Ways to Die. She went down in a jungle, fell in the quicksand. Anyhow, you don't want to hear me sing. But Dr. Saul broke it down to these categories, and I bet you would agree with them. The very first one is the sudden event of a death or an accident, sadly suicide, or a childhood illness. Those are things you can't control. Terminal illness, death conditions like cancer, things that are often discovered too late. By the time you're in the ER or things happen, you're already down that holiday road. The third one is ICU complications. When you go into the ICU or intensive care care unit due to an emergency and you end up with a severely diminished quality of life, you're stuck. There's no getting out of Dodge. If you haven't taken care of your advance directives, you're at the Hotel California. I mean, you can check out, but you're never leaving until your body decides to stop working. And then the very last way to die is that natural decline, and that's just age and your body gradually shutting down, and I guess that's when we all say we'd like to wake up dead. But again, as I like to say, here's the thing. This is why planning is so important, because I know I agree with Dr. Saul, and I'm sure many of you would too, is that I could argue the very third scenario, lingering in the ICU with no quality of life, absolutely is the worst way to die. The family watches you suffer. You may or may not know what's going on. Heck, you could end up like Karen Quinlan. I mean, it could just be ugly, ugly, ugly. However, you can place matters in your own hands. Break the silence. We can prepare. We can start early. Have those conversations, but just don't have those chatty Cathy conversations. Write it down. Place it on your refrigerator. Put do not resuscitate orders or advance directives. Give them to your children. Keep them in your glove box. Carry them with you. File at the hospital. But talk to your loved ones. Let them know you've done it. Let them know where it is. Because in the end, that is the best, corny cliche, gift of love you can do. Planning for an end-of-life care, it doesn't hasten death. It's kind of like, you teach your kids about safe sex. It doesn't mean they're going to get pregnant. You're just teaching them to be a responsible adult. This is about ensuring your wishes are respected and your loved ones are spared having to make decisions, watching unnecessary pain, or having to deal with financial issues, that they had no control over. So by having these conversations and completing the paperwork, you can provide that one final act of love. And we all know we love our families. Well, at least most of us do. I know I do. My ask of you is to complete your advance directives today. So thank you for listening, and I am so grateful you didn't wake up dead today. Hey, if you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that I want to thank you, and I am so glad you didn't wake up dead today. Please jump over to jodyclock.com and download your free copy of my family care plan. This guide will help those you leave behind should you wake up dead. I promise. Be sure to order my book, It's Complicated, based on a true story. Send me an email about topics you'd like to hear in future episodes. Until next time, thank you for not falling asleep.